Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Flash Forward. This week, we're going to be continuing the Jeff Johns Flash run, beginning with issue 192. We're going to be going all the way up to. There's an event, like a Flash story coming up called the Blitz. It's called Blitz, and so we're going to be covering all the way up to the end of that. So all the issues up to there. So I think it's 9 issues total that we're going to be covering this week. The first issue is issue 192, which is written by Jeff Johns with art by Scott Collins and Doug Hazelwood, as per usual. But before we get into it, please subscribe and like the video and comment below, about the Flash, and ask me any questions. I'll answer them below. So let's get straight into it. Issue 192, we begin at Iron Heights Penitentiary, where all of the Flash's rogues are held, a lot of them introduced by Jeff Johns. There's a lot of old rogues in there, but there's a lot of new ones too. A couple of security guards are smoking, talking about how the Flash is trying to get Wolf out of the job by speaking to the governor. And they talk about the fact that Wolf and the governor are really close, so there's no way Wolf is going to get taken out as the warden of the prison. A plane flies by, and a bunch of silhouettes start jumping out of the plane, and you think at first it's just a bunch of guys, like a bunch of army men or something. But then it's the two security guards realize that it's actually a load of gorillas parachuting down onto the prison, which means that the plane was probably being piloted by gorillas as well. And they land on top of the watchtowers, killing the two security guards. Like, they just smash on top of them, like, crushing these two guys. Meanwhile, Warden Wolf and Hunter Zolomon are having a meeting. Hunter Zolomon has come to the prison because he wants to meet with Peekaboo, because he's trying to prove her innocence to get her out of the prison, because she doesn't deserve to be here. The reason she's here is because she tried stealing a kidney for her father, who is going to die, or is going to die. And Wolf is just like, she hurt a lot of my men while being in here. Like, every time she teleports, she blows up, and she hurt a bunch of my men, so she deserves to be in here. But what he's not telling Zolomon is that the reason why she probably hurt a bunch of his men is because his men torture the criminals on a daily basis, and are incredibly cruel. And in fact, as a matter of fact, right now, they are attempting to torture Peekaboo right at this very moment. They're trying to inject her with a drug so that she won't spill the beans to Zolomon about her daily beatings. It's pretty messed up. Wolf uses his mind abilities on Zolomon to cause his knee to hurt. He's like, sit down, Zolomon, and wait. As these two guards are trying to restrain Peekaboo, the lights suddenly go off, and Peekaboo uses the chance to quickly teleport away, which then causes an explosion, blowing up the cell that she was in and gravely hurting the guards around her, which they deserve. Meanwhile, in Keystone City, Wally and Linda are currently in bed together. They talk about Wally's scar in his chest because a long time ago, or quite a few issues ago, Wally was stabbed in the chest by a villain known as Cicada, and ever since then, the Speed Force has come out of his chest, and he's used it to create, like, his suit now comes out of his chest and appears around his body. And so Linda's like, does it hurt? And he's like, nah, not really. It's just kind of weird. Like, I'm glad you're not freaked out by it, because Linda's just like, I find it really hot. Like, it's great that you have a chest scar. They start talking about the fact that they're going to be having children soon, and Wally's nervous about becoming a father because he doesn't want to end up like his father, who was not only abusive when he was a child, but is also just a scummy guy. Like, he grew to just make scams and stuff, like scam people out of money, and he's just all around a dirtbag. So Wally gets a call from Officer Murillo, who tells him that something is going on in Iron Heights, and that the last thing that a guard said before they were knocked out by something was the word gorilla. So Wally is like, that probably means that this has something to do with Gorilla Grodd. So he decides to head to Iron Heights. He tells Murillo to make sure that everyone stays out of Iron Heights, because Wally wants to deal with this. So he heads to Iron Heights. He breaks his way in by vibrating his hand through the door, which then causes a little explosion so he can make his way through. Upon entering, Hunter Zolomon and Wolf begin exploring Iron Heights, and this is where we discover that Wolf is using Fallout to power the machine again. This guy named this villain named Fallout, who is just an innocent man who just happened to get radioactive powers. He was defeated by Wally, and then Wally gave him to Iron Heights because they were promising to cure him, but it turns out that Wolf has just gone back to using him as a power source. A gorilla breaks through a nearby wall. You think it's Grodd, but it's not actually Grodd. It's just an average gorilla being mind-controlled by Grodd. He attacks Zolomon and Wolf. Wolf actually tries to use his abilities against the gorilla, but the gorilla uses its own mind powers against him, or Grodd uses his mind powers through this other gorilla. So Wally comes in and he beats the crap out of the gorilla, but because it's a gorilla, he breaks his hand while doing so. But he manages to knock the gorilla out, and that's when he realizes that it was under mind control by Grodd. So he takes Zolomon, he asks Wolf where the infirmary is, and he takes him there, and while he's there, he wraps up his hand with some sticky tape, and then is like, I'm gonna go off and try and find Grodd, because with all these gorillas attacking the penitentiary, it's assumed that they're trying to break out Grodd. So I'm gonna go find him and stop him. You make sure you keep plenty of pressure on Zolomon because he's really badly hurt and he might die. And Wolf is like, yeah, of course. I'm not a monster like you think I am. And it's like, okay, Wolf. Yes, you are. You give the criminals in here daily beatings, even the ones that really don't deserve it. You're a pretty horrible man. Yeah, Wally is contemplating whether or not Wolf is worse than the Rogues, and as a reader, we can already decide that yes, he is in fact much worse than the Rogues. So the gorillas all smash open the cells of all the Rogues, which makes you think oh, Gorilla Grodd is trying to team up with the Rogues, right? One of the gorillas opens up the cell of Dr. Alchemy, and Dr. Alchemy is like, I'm trying to finish my book, but you're making such a ruckus. You're upsetting the Philosopher's Stone. And he uses it to transform the gorilla into solid diamond. Speak no evil, monkey. And he just continues reading his book. So Wally continues exploring the prison, and eventually he comes to Grodd's hallway. Because Grodd's cell is at the end of this hallway. And when he gets there, he realizes all the Rogues have been broken out of their prison cells, including a version of the Top who goes by the name Thomas O'Neill, a Top that I have never met before. I really hope that Jeff just goes into details of who is this Top, because the previous one was dead, Roscoe Dillon, and this is not Roscoe Dillon. This guy's name is apparently Thomas O'Neill, so who is this guy? Where did he even come from? He's not from a different issue of The Flash. What the hell? So while he starts fighting these Rogues, he just beats the crap out of a bunch of them. Gerda tries to smash him. Tar Pit manages to punch him in the face, and then he gets stuck in Tar Pit's tar. And that's when Double Down, this guy who can turn his skin into cards, throws a bunch of skin cards at Wally, which kind of slices parts of his body. And that's when a voice comes from behind Wally and is like, end of the line, Flash. And it's Blacksmith. Aminette Black wants to get revenge after what Wally did to her in the previous event, which was just, beat her and win. She's like, you're my first victim. You'll never stop us. All these Rogues will be my new minions. And then a voice goes us. And then a huge gorilla hand just grabs her by the head and just yeets her. She's just like, just thrown across the room, knocked out. And the voice is like, us. There is no us. And all the rogues are just like, oh shit. And it's Gorilla Grodd. It's like, there is only Grodd. And so Grodd has appeared, and it seems like he has no business teaming up with any of the rogues. It seems like he hates them as much as he hates Wally, and it's, all about him being in it for himself. Like, this is about Grodd, not them. And so, yeah, that's the end of that issue. So, issue 193 immediately begins with Grodd just hammering in on Wally, grabbing him and just beating the living snot out of him, and terrorizing him with the ideas of what Grodd is going to do with him. Like, he's like, I'm going to chew for your Achilles tendon flash. Like, I'll rip the flesh from your bones. I'll straight up eat you. And the rogues are just, like, watching this happen, and they're just like, oh, crap. Alright, we're out of here. See ya. Like, they're literally just like, I'm out. See ya. Cicada's just like, Flash be with us. They all leave. So Grodd is just beating the snot out of Wally. He's like, after I skin you, I'll wear your hide back to Gorilla City. And that city will bow before me now. Enough talk. And then Wally just like punches Grodd in the face. And then Grodd just grabs him and throws him. And then Kadabra is like, Grodd, please, release me, my friend. And Grodd, like, smashes the orb that he's in, freeing Kadabra. And Kadabra's like, alright, my friend, like, now what are we going to do to the Flash? Like, how are we going to mess with him? And Grodd's like, you better get out of here. Like, this is my territory. Like, I'm messing with the Flash. Like, I'm gonna kill him. And Kadabra's like, wait, what? And then Grodd's just like, leave. Now! And Kadabra's like, alright, disappear, abracadabra! And, like, disappears out. So Grodd's just like, I'm no longer incapacitated, drugged, and imprisoned like every other animal you humans attack. And so Wally just kicks him in the jaw as Grodd grabs him. He's like, oh, the taste of blood. My blood's so alluring. Now open your brain. And he starts using his mind powers against Wally. And he's like, can you see what I'll do with your entrails? Can you see it, Flash? At the same time, Dr. Alchemy is just continuing to read his book, unfazed on what's going on around him. Grodd uses his mind powers to show Wally everyone being, like, all of his friends and family being killed. He's like, this is what you fear. Like, through your friends, like, is where your pain comes from the most. So tell me where your friends are, so I can deal them, like, huge amounts of pain, both to them and to you. Meanwhile, Wolf bandages up Zolomon and helps him up, and he's like, we gotta get out of here, we gotta find the Flash. We also just gotta get ourselves to safety as well. Like, hopefully Wally can hold his own against Grodd. Like, Zolomon kind of wants to help Wally, but Wolf is like, no, we gotta get out of here. And Wolf's kind of like manipulating Zolomon into thinking that he's a good guy. There's even a moment where Zolomon uses his abilities against some of the gorillas, and Zolomon's like, what are you doing? And Wolf is like, wait, did I say Zolomon was using abilities? I meant Wolf uses his abilities against some of the gorillas. And Zolomon is like, whoa, what are you doing? And Wolf is like, oh, I just, like, recently found out I have this power where I can control people's muscles. And obviously he's lying, because it's not just that. He can control people's minds, too. Like, he can get them to do anything. So it's kind of like him manipulating Zolomon. Grodd goes to bite out Wally's neck, and as his teeth begins to sink into his neck, Wally is just like, let go! And he punches Grodd in the eye, which causes Grodd to go like, Argh! Meanwhile, Fallout hears what's going on. A big part of the ceiling just falls down. He's just like, what's going on up there? And so Wally and Grodd continue their fight, smashing through multiple parts of the prison. The entire time, Grodd is trying to use his mind powers to get Wally to tell him where his friends are so that he can beat the snot out of them. And then Grodd gets a really nasty hit on Wally that pretty much puts him out of commission, and he's about to stand on Wally's head and kill him. He's like, "My brothers are after your friend, Hunter Solomon. I wish you could see what they're going to do, but I grow hungrier." And so he goes to smush Wally's head, and that's when Fallout's like, "Leave the Flash alone!" And he just blasts Grodd with all of this radiation, so he's just like, "Ah! He helped me when no one else would." And Grodd is just like, "Who helps you now?" As like the ceiling falls on top of Fallout, crushing him and possibly killing him. We don't know. We don't get to see a body yet. So I'm going to assume that Fallout is still alive. Wolf and Solomon get out of the penitentiary, but that's when Grodd just appears out of nowhere and just punches Wolf. He's just like, bang, and Wolf's just like, ugh! And then he grabs Solomon. He's like, "You, friend of Flash." And Solomon's like, no, please, please. And Grodd picks him up and he just shatters Solomon's spine. Like, he pretty much rips his vertebrae apart. Like, it's really brutal. And it's really sad, too, because, like, Solomon has always had to walk around with a cane. And Wolf used his abilities to allow Solomon more control over his leg muscles, so he was able to run. And so he ran for, like, the first time in years, and he was like, "Oh, man, I can't believe I'm running again. Like, this is awesome." And now Grodd has come and has severed his spine. So Solomon may never walk again. So it's pretty nasty, pretty rough. Wally is crawling, begging for help. He sees Dr. Alchemy, and Dr. Alchemy is just like, "Well, I finished this book. Time to go find some more books to read." And he just leaves, and Wally's like, "Please, don't leave me." Wally blacks out and eventually wakes up on a hospital bed, or not a hospital bed, but on a stretcher. They're taking people to the hospital, including Solomon. He finds out that Solomon's vertebrae has been severed and that he may never walk again, which really annoys Wally. He's like, Wolf is just like, "This is my fault. I'm sorry about Hunter. You were right, Flash. I couldn't cage Grodd." And Wally's like, "No, I was wrong. Like, Grodd needs to be in a prison, because if he isn't, he does stuff like this. He needs to be as far away from people as possible so that he can't harm anyone. He's probably gone to Gorilla City, so I'm going after him to Gorilla City. I'm going to confront Grodd, and I am going to make him pay for everything he's done to my friends, especially Solomon." And so Wally starts running off to Gorilla City. He's like, he's going to pay this time. He's going to pay for everything. So issue 194 begins with Wally making his way to Africa in order to get to Gorilla City. He's been running for thousands of miles across the United States, through Missouri, Kentucky, Virginia, over the Atlantic Ocean. He describes it as skipping like a stone through a dozen thunderstorms and 2 hurricanes. He's like, "I have a broken hand, at least 3 of my ribs are cracked, and a cop, a really good cop, was nearly torn in half, his back broken. The monster responsible for all of this fled back to his homeland. I'm going there to find him, and he's coming back to America with me to pay for what he did. Grodd is coming back." So he makes it to Africa, and he vibrates his eyes, because he knows that Gorilla City is hidden by cloaking technology. So he vibrates his eyes so that he can see through the cloaking technology. But he gets trapped by, like, a plasma trap. It's like this green energy trap that tangles around his leg. So he spins super fast, which destroys the trap, freeing him. And that's when a bunch of gorillas approach him. He's like, "Hey guys, you speak English? You recognize me, right? I'm Wally West, the Flash. I'm a friend." And they start attacking him, and he's like, "Oh, you must all be, like, controlled by Grodd, right?" And they're just like, "Grodd?" It's like, "My head, what did you..." And the gorilla's like, borrowing words. So he kind of, like, takes a little bit of, like, Wally's mind out to see what Wally is thinking, and they deem that he is worthy to come within Gorilla City. So they open up a little gateway through the cloaking device, and Wally enters Gorilla City in order to meet Nanamdi. So Nanamdi is the son of Solivar. Solivar was originally the leader of Gorilla City. He was killed by Grodd during an event that I didn't cover called JL Ape, because I didn't want to. because it's all about the JLA being turned into gorillas. Maybe I'll talk about it someday on a special occasion, but not today. So Nanamdi is the son of Solivar and is now the leader of the of Gorilla City. Like, there's a nice moment where Wally sees a picture of Solivar and he's just like, Solivar, and places his hand, because he was good friends with Solivar, and because Wally was good friends with his father, Nanamdi trusts Wally, but also knows why Wally has come here. Like, he knows that, like, because first of all, Nanamdi's like, why are you wearing red? It's banned within the city, the color of blood. And while, like, he's just like, are you wearing it for vengeance, like for killing, like for, do you like drawing blood from your enemies? And Wally's like, none of that. Like, I'm not here for, like, I don't dress up like this for vengeance. And then Nanamdi's like, yes, but you're here for vengeance. I know you're here to find Grodd. I know you want his blood. And Wally's like, how do you know that? Like, how are you seeing within my mind? I thought Grodd was the only one with mind powers. And this is where it's retconned by Jeff that all the gorillas in Gorilla City have the potential to use mind powers, just not to the same extent as Grodd. So Nanamdi can, like, sense feelings and stuff, and if he really focuses hard, can control people's minds, he's just not as strong as Grodd. So he tells Wally that he's not going to let Wally take Grodd back to America, because Grodd has done a lot of bad things and they need to keep him incarcerated here. And Wally is like, I can't. Like, I want to take Grodd back because he's hurt a lot of people that I love. And that's when Grodd shows up and he's like, Nanamdi, I am already here to claim this city as my own. You know what your father used to tell me? He said, you'll never rule because they'll never follow you. And Nanamdi's like, and they won't, Grodd. Your psychic possession is easy enough to block. You are free, my brothers. And he frees all of these gorillas from Grodd's mind control, and then Wally's like, think fast, and he just rushes into Grodd, sending him flying. Grodd goes crashing, and then Wally's like, surprised to see me? And Grodd is just like, annoyed, and throws like a stone pillar at him. Wally zips around the stone pillar and kicks Grodd in the face, sending him flying again. And as Grodd is falling, Wally's like, he's gonna fall for 1 second, and then his powers will probably activate in 3 seconds. So I need to take him out before he gets a chance to do that. But Wally underestimates Grodd, and Grodd's psychic abilities kick in while he's falling, and he starts attacking Wally with mental images of Linda being tortured and killed. And so Wally's just like, I gotta fight off these, like, torturous images. Like, he's really messing with my mind right now, but I gotta push through it. I gotta beat Grodd. This is for Solomon. This is for Linda. This is for everyone that Grodd could potentially hurt. And so he starts zipping around to all these different gorillas, taking their weapons, and then he places them in a pile on the ground, and Grodd falls on top of them, which hurts him a lot. Like, these weapons all, like, electrocute him. And then, so you think Grodd is out, but then he gets back up. He's like, a failed attempt, Flash. I still stand. And then Wally just starts beating on him. He's like, I feel his jaw shatter, but I don't stop. Not until Grodd is no longer a threat to anyone. And then I hear Barry's voice in my head. That's enough. But is it enough? Is it enough? And then Wally's hand starts hurting from punching Grodd so much. He's just like, why won't you fall? And Grodd is just standing there, not talking. And then Grodd kind of, like, lifts his arms up and it's just like, and Wally's just like, fall, damn you! And then Grodd just topples over and falls onto the ground. It's just like, boom! Passing out. Wally's just like, he's coming back. Back to Iron Heights. And then he's like, no, Flash. Grodd is staying here. We will do our best to incarcerate him and keep him out of man's world. And Wally's just like, I won't accept that. He's like, you will have to. I'm erasing the location of our city from your mind. I suggest you leave your bloodlust here as well. And Wally's like, I'm not an animal. And then Andy's like, I know, you're a human. Now sleep. And he just uses his powers. And Wally just blacks out and then awakens. He's just like, wait! He finds himself in the middle of Keystone City, specifically the park. He just looks down and he's like, damn. Nanamdi heads back to the wall with the drawing of Solivar on it, and he has requested for the blood of Grodd be delivered to him. He's like, thank you, Kamal. Now retreat. Humans. And as he says this, he looks into the bowl of blood and he puts his finger in. He's like, my father made a mistake involving them in our affairs. They only want violence. They only want the same thing from us, from every animal. Blood. And using the blood of Grodd, he draws Wally on the wall, fighting Grodd. Wally goes and visits, Zolomon is in hospital, recovering. And Wally arrives and is like, Linda, it's so great to see you. Oh my god. You wouldn't believe it. I saw these horrible dreams of you being ripped. He doesn't tell her that, but, that's why he's so pleased to see her. Morello says that, Zolomon is no longer in critical condition and that he might make it out of this. And then Wolf comes in and Wally's like, what are you doing here? And Wolf's like, I wanted to show my thanks to Zolomon. I just want to be here, for him, It's my fault that he ended up like this. Did you get Grodd? And Wally's just like... And then he hears, a flash. And Wally's like, Hunter, I'm right here. And they're like, oh my god, that's impossible. He's back already? He's already awake? And Zolomon's like, everything hurts, except my legs. I can't feel my legs. Oh god, why did this happen, Flash? Why did this happen to me? And as he's, shaking, lightning flashes outside. And that's where the issue ends. So Wally unfortunately failed. While he defeated Grodd, he failed at making his promise, which was bringing Grodd back to Keystone City and to Iron Heights. And Zolomon can't feel his legs anymore, so it's pretty much confirmed that he will never walk again. So, issue 195 begins with Murillo and Chaya looking at a chart of all the different rogues that have escaped from Iron Heights. They got a lot of work ahead of them to find all these rogues and incarcerate them. Meanwhile, Wally has been having tests with Jerry McGee after his hand was broken fighting Grodd. And Jerry is just giving him an update, being like, your hand's, healed pretty well. Well, he's like, I sure hope so. You broke it, 20 times during the process. Wally then asks Jerry about Chunk. He's like, oh, I heard Chunk is active again. Chunk doesn't actually appear in this issue, except outside of a cameo of being mentioned by Wally. And Jerry's like, yeah, Connie's getting married to Chunk, and they're gonna have a kid. And Wally's like, that's awesome. And I'm gonna be having a kid too. And then he turns to Jerry and he's like, what about you? Are you gonna be having kids with Tina? And Jerry and Tina are like, nah, we don't have time for kids. He's like, you ready to be a father? And Wally's like, I think so, but I'm not sure Linda is ready to be a mother. And so we find that Linda wants to get more tests because she's feeling that something is wrong. Something doesn't feel right. And so she wants to go through other tests. And it's kind of hinting oh no. Is Linda going to have a miscarriage? Because why else would she be worried? Why else would she be feeling like something's wrong? So she gets another test from Tina. Meanwhile, Keith Kenyon and the mayor of Keystone City are celebrating 100 years of the Keystone Motor Services. And then the celebration gets attacked by Roscoe Dillon, aka The Top. That's right. His name being Thomas O'Neill in the prison just doesn't make any sense because they call him Roscoe Dillon in this, so I'm guessing it was just a mistake, an art mistake. So it is Roscoe Dillon. I forgot that he came back in that one little arc that Wade did where he took over the mind of a politician. I forgot about that. And I think he's still in that politician's mind, so I guess that guy is Thomas O'Neill, but this is technically still Roscoe Dillon's spirit inside of him. And he's gone completely insane. He's got a straitjacket on. His costume's really cool. He's got a straitjacket costume where the arms are just flapping around, and he wears a top hat because he's called the Top. And he's also, over time, gained abilities similar to Count Vertigo, where he can make the world spin in people's vision, causing them motion sickness. So he starts using his ability against Kenyon, and the mayor He's there to just straight up kill them because he's gone insane. So Wally shows up. He got called by Murillo, but Murillo called him a minute late. Wally was already on the way to find the top. And he crosses paths with the top, and that's when he discovers that the top has these new abilities because he starts feeling off balance and he starts feeling sick. And the top just spins into him and smacks him about. He's like, I've been having all these horrible headaches, but it turns out the reason I've been having these headaches is because my brain is spinning and the capacity is increasing. My brain is evolving from all the spinning that it's doing. And it's going to keep spinning and keep evolving until I'm at the top of the food chain. And obviously he is just freaking insane. I think the top hat is supposed to be kind of reminiscent of like Alice in Wonderland, like the Mad Hatter. And he's like, I can turn your world upside down, Flash, and put mine right side up. Wally gets thrown into the ocean and quickly makes an escape from the top because he has super speed to go and visit Hunter Zolomon because Zolomon knows everything about the rogues. Before he gets there, we find Hunter looking at a photo of somebody who is clearly his partner or his ex-girlfriend or someone. And Wally arrives and he's like, the top is... and he like vomits. He's like, sorry Hunter, you're looking better. And Hunter's just like, I feel worse. He's like, I need your help. Like, I'm in no position to help. Yes, you are. You're still you. The top is back. And then Hunter is like, Roscoe Dillon. Did a profile on him when he was incarcerated in Iron Heights. Dillon is obsessed with being above everyone else. Though highly intelligent and socially competent, he's unable to see others as equals. We're all toys to him, like I was to Grodd. And so Wally's like, he developed some kind of new ability. Every time I get close to him, everything spins. I get sick. I lose my balance. He's scrambling the way my eyes interpret images. And so Hunter's like, then just close your eyes. And Wally's like, what? Oh, that's actually kind of genius. So Top goes back to trying to kill the mayor and Keith Kenyon. And that's when Wally shows up. And he's like, back for more? And he's like, from you? Sure. And he starts fighting the Top. And this time, he closes his eyes. And so the Top is able to hurt Wally with his spinning, but isn't able to make him feel motion sick anymore. And so the Top just starts, like, hitting Wally around, like, whacking him around with his spinning abilities. Like, are you listening to me, Flash? Do you hear me? And Wally's like, sure do. You're right in front of me. And then Top's just like, then get up and play. And Wally's like, playtime's over. And he just punches the Top in the face. Punches Roscoe in the face, sending him falling over. Basically just one punches him and beats him. Like, how'd the boot taste, Dylan? 1 down, too many more to go. Meanwhile, the rest of the rogues, Captain Cold, Mirror Master, Weather Wizard, and the Trickster are all talking about which musicians they'd kill. And they all decide that they would kill ABBA for some reason. I guess Jeff Johns just hates ABBA. And then Wally appears on the TV and he's like, a warning to all other rogues who are stupid enough to stay in the Twin Cities. Your days are numbered. And they all start laughing their asses off. They're just like, ha ha ha, nice try, Wally. Wally heads back to Linda because he knows that Linda's been not talking to him about something. Like, she's been real depressed about something. So Wally goes to talk to her to find out what's going on. And she's like, I told you, Wally, I don't know what it is. Something's not. And then Tina comes in and is like, got the results back and some more news. You're having twins. And so it's revealed that Wally and Linda aren't just having a kid, they are having twins. And it's just like, whoa. She's like, that's it. I knew there was something else. It all feels right now, Wally. It all feels perfect. We're going to have twins. And then they hug. And meanwhile, Solomon, frustrated, is just like, move, damn you. Move. And then he hears like a clang. And he like wheels himself out to the other room. And he hears a voice. It's like, I'm not here to hurt anyone. I just want to see him. And he opens the door to the room. And he finds Peekaboo with her father. Like, he's my father. LaShawn Bays, I think her name is. And so she's come to visit her father. And we'll find out how this transgresses within the next issue. So, issue 196. This issue actually has a guest penciler. Guest artist Phil Winslade. So, yeah. Peekaboo, LaShawn Bays, is trying to see her father But because she's a known criminal, they try to keep her back. Like they try, like the nurses and the doctors are trying to like restrain her, and a security guard comes up behind her to hit her on the head. And Solomon is watching this, and he's like, "Wait, don't hit her!" And he hits her, and because of the contact, she explodes, which sends Solomon flying and this guard, destroying the entire room. Murillo and Chaya arrive to keep tabs on Baze's father after LaShawn had disappeared, and they reveal that her father's probably going to die today because the kidney that they gave him has failed, and so it's pretty much hopeless. And I think LaShawn knows that. Like, I think she knows that her father is going to die, and she's trying to have as many moments as she can with him before the inevitable. Wally goes to visit Solomon to see if he's okay. Solomon's like, "I'm not okay. You know, I feel terrible because of this position that I'm in, because of what happened to Grodd." And then he turns to Wally and he's like, "You know, I heard of this thing from years ago that your Uncle Barry had. It was called the Cosmic Treadmill. It allowed somebody to travel back in time." And Wally's like, "I know what you're going to ask. The answer's no. I'm not going to go back and stop you from being injured by Gorilla Grodd, because time travel is messy. It never works out good. You know, there was this villain. His name was Professor Zoom, aka the Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne. He was created from time travel. You know, he murdered my uncle's wife and then tried to murder his girlfriend, and unfortunately my uncle had to kill him." Solomon's like, "I saw the trial. You said he could have done it any other way." Well, he's like, "A lot of time has passed since then. I've realized that it was the only way and that I would have done the same thing." And Solomon's just like, "Please, like, I'm begging you. Please, just do this for me. You know, just take me back. 1 hour that started the dominoes falling, that messed up my knee and got me fired from the FBI. I can erase it. Take me back there." And he's like, "Please, please, Flash. Wally." He's like, "You have to understand." He's like, "I understand you've never had any personal tragedy. You don't know what I'm going through." He's like, "I have had tragedy. A bolt of lightning turned you into the fastest man alive. You have a beautiful wife. You're adored by this city and the world as a hero. Your life has been anything but tragic." And Wally just leaves. There's like a panel of him there, and then the next panel he's gone, and Solomon just continues looking through the window. He goes to see Linda. He goes up to her and he's like, "Look, Solomon just needs some time alone. How's the..." And Linda's like, "Whoa, don't tell anyone in the public place, but we're trying to keep this a secret." He's like, "I still don't know why we're keeping it a secret." And she's like, "Because I don't want paparazzi banging down our door." And that's when it's revealed that, like, the doctor is like, "We got a flatline," and LaShawn Baze's father is passing away, like he's dying, and the doctor's gonna try and like resuscitate him, but then LaShawn shows up and he's like, "Get away from him!" He's like, "Dad, I'm gonna keep you safe. I promise, Mom. I'm gonna keep that promise." And Wally's like, "LaShawn," he's like, "Please leave us alone." Peekaboo, and then she like disappears while holding her father, teleporting out of the room. The explosion happens, the reverb. Wally quickly grabs everyone out of the building so that they don't get hurt by the explosion. Then he goes to find LaShawn. He sees a spark in a nearby building, and then LaShawn appears within the car park. It's like, "LaShawn, don't run." Linda's like, "Get everyone inside." And LaShawn at this point has realized that her father is dead, and she's like, "Don't run. That's all I can do now, Flash. My father is..." And he's like, "Why didn't you let the doctor..." Like, "Because I should have helped him. Why do you think I was going to medical school? He always said never trust anyone. So what do you have to do what you have to do yourself. I was supposed to become a doctor. I was supposed to save him." And Wally's like, and she's like, "Peekaboo." And she explodes, and Wally's just like, "Ah!" and gets caught in the explosion. And the explosion sends Wally falling to the ground and hits Linda, sending her flying into an ambulance. She's like, "Ugh!" Because she's pregnant. Wally's like, "Linda! Like, you need to take her to doctor. Like, she's pregnant." And, like, LaShawn just, like, kicks him. It's like, "Get her to the doctors. I'm begging you." He's like, you don't know me at all, do you, Flash? You think when I found out I was a metahuman that I made this costume to become a villain? I was going to be a hero, but you in this city called me a rogue. When I needed it, you didn't help me. You didn't help me or my father. I'm not doing this to help you, Flash. I'm not. I'm doing this to help her. And she picks up Linda and teleports away. And then the explosion sends Wally flying again. And he's just like, ugh. It's like, it feels a bit unfair. Because Wally is trying to help LaShawn. And I guess LaShawn just is frustrated over her dad's death. I don't know if everything that she's saying to Wally she truly means. She might be just saying this out of spite and distress. That's what I like to believe. So later on, Wally takes Linda back home where she begins to rest, and we get reassured that the twins are fine. She did not end up having a miscarriage or something. And then Peekaboo actually turned herself in afterward. He's like, I can't believe you turned herself in. Like, she turned herself in. And Linda's just like, without her father, I guess there wasn't anything else for her to fight for. Well, he's like, I wish I could have helped her. Like, after her and Solomon, you know, my track record is going to hell. I haven't felt like a hero in a long time. Linda's like, you can't save everyone, can you? And Wally's like, I'm the fastest man alive, Linda. If I can't, there's a problem. Maybe it's time we held a family meeting. Cheer you up. Let's do it. It's like, do what? Let's get everyone together. Wally, Jay, Joanne, Iris. Let's tell them we're going to be parents. And Wally's just like, and he like picks up Linda and is like, yeah. There's like a little panel of like the outside of their building of him picking up Linda, like, woo! So yeah, they're gonna tell everyone that Linda's pregnant. And then we cut to the Flash Museum, where Hunter Zolomon has broken into the museum at night. He finds the cosmic treadmill. He sees the statue of Gorilla Grodd, which like messes with him. He's just like, oh! And then he's just like, get your head together, like Zolomon. Like, come on. And he sees the cosmic treadmill. He wheels his way up onto it. He sets the time on the cosmic treadmill. But because he doesn't actually know how it works, and no one has ever tried using it with a wheelchair, the cosmic treadmill starts exploding, falling apart, and Zolomon gets caught in this energy that begins erupting out of the treadmill. The energy blast just blasts its way through the Flash Museum, destroying it and everything around it. Like within 20 feet, I'd say, is completely destroyed by this. Let's call it like a coronal explosion. Is probably the best way to describe it. And yeah, so we'll find out what happens next in the 4-part story Blitz coming up next. So, Blitz, Part 1, the 4-part story written by Jeff Johns, with art by Scott Collins and Doug Hazelwood. In the last issue, Hunter Zolomon broke into the Flash Museum. He went onto the cosmic treadmill. The cosmic treadmill blew up. Like, it malfunctioned and blew up. And that did happen. Zolomon wakes up in a hospital bed and then recollects what happened at the Flash Museum. We get to see a brief aftermath of it, which is the fact that it created a massive crater. It destroyed the entire museum, and Zolomon was left in the middle, surrounded by purple lightning. And then he woke up in the hospital bed. Not sure how he got here, but it's assumed that he just passed out and then, we reawoke there. Zolomon knocks over a glass by accident, and as he knocks it over, he begins to recollect his past. We finally get to learn the origins of Hunter. So he grew up with 2 parents, of which pretty much completely ignored him. His mother was never allowed to speak. His father was very obviously abusive. You would think that he's just an abusive father, but he's a lot more than just that. Hunter would listen to his parents talking. They never mentioned his name once. And one day, he came back from school. He just graduated from high school. He was ready to go on to university. And that's when he saw the police outside of his house. And he discovered that his dad is a serial killer, or was a serial killer. He would kill little girls and then bury their bodies behind their garage. The bodies were discovered by the police, and Hunter's mother knew about all this, and that's why she was never allowed to say anything. That's why she wasn't allowed to talk. Because the moment that she did was when she called the police and told them about her husband. And because she yapped, Zolomon's father killed her. He murdered her, and she became his final victim. And then the police broke into the house, and Zolomon's father tried to fight them, and they shot him dead. And so Solomon ended up an orphan at the age of 17. And while most people were glad that his father was dead because he was a monster, Solomon wasn't, because he wanted to know why his father did this, why he became a serial killer. And this is what pushed Solomon's fascination with criminals, specifically supervillains, and eventually metahuman criminals. So when he went to university, he started majoring in psychology, criminology, and sociology, and he also joined the track team because he loved running. And one day he met this woman whose name is Ashley, and she was the first person to ever make him trip while running. And because he tripped, he hurt his leg, and he had to take 3 weeks off of track. And during those 3 weeks, he and Ashley began dating, and they were the greatest 3 weeks of Solomon's life. After graduating from university, Ashley and Solomon enrolled in the FBI, the training. So they went to the training headquarters to join the FBI. Ashley's father was the head of the department of the FBI that were, it was like metahuman criminal psychology is what he's the head of. And he teaches new recruits, that kind of stuff. So because Solomon has always been interested in learning about criminals and supervillains and stuff, he gets taught all this by her father. Her father is obsessed with metahumans, and Solomon loves listening to him talk. She always kind of found it boring, but Solomon was happy to listen to her father talk about metahumans and supervillains. Eventually, Solomon and Ashley got married, and then only weeks later after that, one horrible hour would change Solomon's life forever. And so he's thinking to himself, because we remember him talking about earlier how, like, he asked the Flash to help him go back in time so he could erase that 1 hour that would change everything. He's like, why didn't the Flash let me erase that hour? Why? And so Solomon spilled his water, and he realizes that, like, his throat is starting to get a bit, coarse. And he's like, I need water. Nurse? Nurse? And he starts calling out for a nurse, and nobody is calling back. He's like, it's so quiet. Just a strange hum. What is that? And where is everyone? I thought we were friends, Flash. Instead, you let fear hold you back, and true heroes don't let fear hold them back, no matter the risk, no matter the evil. And so we learn more about Solomon's past, and how he knew all about Reverse Flash. He'd studied him. He was taught about the Reverse Flash in class, and he saw the trial as it happened. He saw Wally West go on the podium and say that Alan could have done it a different way, which Wally has recently gone against what he said. He saw Barry Allen come back. Like, he saw Barry Allen get out of the trial. He heard the rumors that Barry was living in the future, which Solomon said that was just a cover, and that even though we know it's real. And then he was there when Barry came back for Crisis and sacrificed himself. And then he's like, and then Wally West became the Flash. And then he starts talking about Wally West. He's like, Wally West, he took the mask off, revealed his identity to the public. Why? For the glory, the recognition? I used to be like that. And then Solomon starts going over the fact that he used to be so obsessed with metahumans and tracking them down and taking them down. And he was good at it. And he was so good at it that he started to get very big-headed about it. He loved the glory of taking down criminals. And so, alongside Ashley and her father, he was investigating a series of murders, and he came to the conclusion that it was a man known as Lyle Corley, aka the clown who was responsible for these murders. So apparently the clown's origin is Dick Grayson's origin, where like his family died in a horrific circus related accident and he blamed everyone for it and then became a clown and started using circus themed stuff to commit his crimes. So they go and find the house that Lyle Corley is most likely in, and Ashley's father is like, we shouldn't go in, he might have a gun. And Lyle is like, there's no way he's going to have a gun because he always uses circus-related stuff. Like, he's obsessed with clowns, so he's not going to have a gun. And so they go into the clown's house, and Lyle Corley has a gun. And he blasts out Ashley's father's brains and shoots Zolomon in the leg, which is how he ends up, not being able to run anymore. And yeah, then he gets shot down by Ashley. Ashley shoots down Lyle Corley and then weeps over her father's dead body. And this is kind of where Zolomon's life went downhill. Not only did he lose his ability to run, which was the thing he loved the most besides Ashley and her father, but Ashley divorced him because he was responsible for her father's death. And then the Bureau let him go because of the whole situation as well, because he was wrong and he made a mistake that cost lives. So the Keystone Police Department were looking for a profiler. That's all he had left. He was like, I have to join them to become their criminal profiler. And that's when he met Wally West, the Flash. That's when he met the Flash, because he knows he's Wally West because it's public identity. So Zolomon then realizes that he's perceiving everything in slow motion while he's in the hospital room. Like, he notices the cup of water that he knocked off the side still hasn't hit the ground, and that it's just floating in the air. And then he realizes that his legs are still working, and he gets up, he's like, nurse, someone! Like, it's amazing, I can move my legs! He exits his room and he sees everyone in slow motion, like, just pretty much just frozen. And that's when Zolomon is like, when the Cosmic Treadmill blew up, did I get the Flash's powers, or is this all in my mind? Like, am I going crazy? He's not really sure whether or not he actually has Flash powers or not. Like, he grabs a fly from the air, his eyes start hurting and his brain starts hurting, and he realizes it's because his brain is, like, he's like, is my brain racing at 1,000,000 miles per second because of these new powers that I might have? Or is it because I'm going insane and I'm tricking myself into thinking that this is happening? Then he notices that his hospital robes are on fire, which is a sign that he's moving at super speed. The friction has caused his robes to catch on fire. And that's kind of his sign. He's like, well, this might be the sign that I have become like the Flash. And he rips off his robes, and Zolomon decides that his goal now, because he's been through so much tragedy, all this tragedy that he went to led him to becoming a speedster himself. Like, he's already seen how powerful he possibly is just by seeing everyone frozen and stuff. So he believes that his destiny is to cause tragedy in Wally's life to bring out Wally's greatest potential. Like, he believes that Wally will become stronger if he suffers the same kind of tragedy that Zolomon has. So he sees his name on a piece of paper, which says Zolomon. He scratches out the L and the O and the N, which creates Zoom. He's like, he must face his ultimate opposite. A man who has lost his pride, confidence, and identity to tragedy. A man who will run with him down a hellish road and feel no guilt in bringing him there. Destiny has brought us here, Flash, from friend to foe. There is only one type of man who can make you a better hero. One type of man who can reverse your twisted thinking. One man who fits the profile. And then Hunter Zolomon becomes enveloped in a cloud of lightning, and through the Speed Force, I presume, creates a costume for himself reminiscent of the Reverse Flash. Looks pretty much exactly like the Reverse Flash is, the only difference being that he has like black eyes with like red pupils. He's like, I fit the profile. And so Hunter Zolomon has now officially become Zoom. Or Professor Zoom. So, Blitz Part 2. Wally recollects his life and how great it is as he goes to visit Jay. They're just running through Keystone City. Jay briefly mentions that Wally has an expertise on cars and that he helped him fix his car. He's like, I didn't know you know so much about cars. He's like, took some vocational school back in Nebraska. Only school I ever liked. And living in this city, can't help but learn more. So, they've gone to the remains of the Flash Museum to see what happened. And Wally doesn't know that Zolomon was responsible. He thinks that Zolomon was attacked by some kind of criminal at the Flash Museum, and he wants to find whoever did it and hurt Zolomon. So he's going to have a bit of a rude awakening when he finds out the real reason behind this. Wally then gets called by the paparazzi who appear behind him and Jay, and they start just bombarding Wally with questions about Linda and stuff. Like, they bring Linda into the equation, where one of the reporters is like, why has your wife been seen visiting Star Labs more than 3 times a week this month? Is she sick? Or Wally's just like, leave my wife out of, and before he can finish his sentence, Jay is like, don't Wally, let's just go. And they head off. Meanwhile, Linda is setting up a picnic with Iris, and Iris is like, hey, Linda, do you ever miss reporting? And then Linda's just like, I do, but I can't go back. And it's just like, oh, just shut up, Johns. Like, I know you didn't want Linda to be a reporter, and so you made her a freaking nurse, and now you're trying to, reiterate that by being like, well, she can't go back. It's like, come on. And her reasons that she gives, where she's just like, I just couldn't. Like, as a reporter, I couldn't keep seeing Wally, as the Flash. Like, it was kind of messing with me, and it was hard seeing him with his public identity, like, on the news. I no longer look at the news the same way anymore, and that's why I can't be a reporter anymore. And it's like, come on, dude. Like, stop bringing it back up, Johns, because, like, it's not going to be something that I'm just gonna be on board for. I don't like Linda being a nurse, and I much prefer her being a reporter, and it's never gonna change. Like, I'm not gonna change my mind, Johns, just because you're trying to convince me that this is what's best for her. It's like, come on, man. Let's move on from that, because Bart arrives with Joanne. She's made cookies. This is the first time we've seen Bart in a while. He's shown up twice in the entire time that Jeff Johns has been writing The Flash. So he's here in his civilian clothes. He's still Impulse. We just don't get to see him as Impulse in this. And then Jay and Wally show up, and the reason why they've brought everyone together is because Wally wants to tell them that they're going to have a child. And that's what they do. They reveal to them, they're like, we're going to be parents, yeah! And Jay's like, you're having a baby? And Wally's like, actually, we're having twins! And they're like, what? Well, I'll be. And Bart goes up to Wally and is like, wait a second, let me get this straight. You're going to be a dad? And Wally's like, yep. And Bart's like, poor kids. And like, starts drinking water, which I thought was kind of funny. Starts drinking his glass of water, and then Wally gets a call on his phone, and it's Jesse. Because if you forgot, Jesse Chambers is a character. She's been in Titans at the moment as a member of the Titans, but she's not a member of the Titans anymore. She got taken off the team, and she's not allowed to appear in the Flash book for some reason. The reason being that she's become that businesswoman, that business character who has no time for anything else but business. And I don't like that. I kind of hate that her character has taken this route. She's become like her mum, which I guess is supposed to be a part of her character development, of being like, I don't want to become like my mum, but I am becoming like my mum. I don't know if that's ever actually a focus point, but it is, to me, it seems that way. I just think it's unfortunate that, like, she's not like she's just not showing up at this event where Wally is revealing that, you know, he's going to be a parent. Like it's a real bummer that Jesse isn't going to be here, and it feels out of character that Jesse would just become this person. I don't know. It just feels like it goes against everything that she stands for. At least during like the way she was established in the Wade run, you know. As Wally and Linda embrace after announcing that they're going to be having children, you don't get to see his face, but it's evident that the specter appears behind Wally and says, "Love, remember it." And then he fades away. And then a massive boom sound happens, which causes the ground to shake. Like, what was that? A sonic boom? And Bart's like, a sonic boom, an explosive sound caused by a shockwave from something moving past the speed of sound. And so Linda's like, oh, wait, there's no jets going around, so, like, where did it come from? And then I hear another boom go across the city, and we see that it's Zoom snapping, like Hunter Zolomon snapping his fingers. He's snapping his fingers, and it's creating sonic booms. So he does it again, creates another sonic boom, and Wally's like, alright, Jay and I are going to try and find the origin of these sonic booms, see what's going on, but you get everyone to safety, just get out of the way, like, you're, do something useful, please. And so Wally and Jay head off, and Jay's like, aren't you leaning a little harsh on Bart? And Wally's like, I didn't think I was, I'm sure he's fine. But Bart is not fine. We see a panel of Bart looking pretty frustrated and sad. So Jay and Wally head to Stag Tower, or what remains of it, because they were building Simon Stagg's new office tower, but then he got ran out by the unions, so they didn't finish building it, so it's just a bunch of, like, it's still just a building site with a ton of girders and stuff. Another boom happens, the top of the tower just explodes, sending pieces of shrapnel flying everywhere and girders, so Wally and Jay quickly go around, saving people, making sure that they don't get killed by falling debris. Wally, he says he's imitating Bart's video games, runs up a building and jumps off and starts running across these falling girders, stealing their speed so that they will just plummet straight to the ground instead of falling into other buildings, possibly harming more people. He doesn't think about the fact that there might be people directly below that could get hit by these girders, but luckily there isn't, so it's not really a problem. Jay goes around and helps a bunch of people. Like, he goes and gets a bunch of people out of the zone of the debris, and then he whips up like a little tornado to stop some of the girders as they hit the ground while plummeting, so that they hit the ground safely. And Jay then creates a little like pile of the girders too. You know, he grabs the girders and just like piles them all up nicely. And then he hears a voice that's just like, "Oh man, stay away!" And Jay's just like, "What?" And then he just gets smacked by something, like out of nowhere, just like boom. Jay just gets sent flying. And he hears a voice again that's like, "Tragedy will face Wally West." And Jay's just like, ugh. And Wally's just like, "Jay, like, what hit you?" He's like, "Something fast and strong. Didn't even see a blur. Had to be invisible. There's nothing that moves too fast for us to..." And then they hear, like, zoom. And then they hear another, like, crackoom. And Jay gets sent flying again. And so Wally zips after him. Jay goes smashing into a gym. And Wally grabs him and lays him on the ground. He's like, "Jay, just..." And then he hears like a coming from behind him. And all the treadmills around him start turning on by themselves. Like... And then Wally hears the voice again. It's like, "Tragedy, zoom." And that's when Zoom appears before him. It's like, Linda will make he says, like, "Linda will make sorrow and something of the Flash." I don't know what the other word is. I tried to make it out what it was, but he says something like, "Linda will make sorrow for the Flash." And, well, he's just like, "What? What did you say? Where did you go? Who are you?" And he just hears Zoom. He's like, "What? Zoom is dead." And then he hears another voice that's like, "Not anymore." And then all of the treadmills around Wally explode in his face. And he's just like, "Ah!" Meanwhile, Iris notices that, like, all the windows on the building are shattered. But then the sonic booms stop. And she's like, oh, they stopped. I don't like this. Linda's like, has anyone seen Bart? And they were like, oh, he should be on the roof, right? Like, do you want us to go up and see him? And Linda's like, no, I'll go check on him, see if he's okay. And she heads up to the roof. She's like, Bart, you should really... And then she turns around and horror appears on her face as Zoom appears in front of her. And then he goes to snap his finger. And that's where it ends, to be continued in part 3 of Blitz. So, Blitz part 3. Zoom appears in front of Linda Park. And he's moving so fast that he's having a hard time slowing his voice down. So he's like, difficult to temper, speed hard to adjust perceptions. I am Zoom. And Linda's just like, Wally. And Zoom's like, Wally is my friend. I'm helping him face fear. And then he hears like a, hey, jerk. And Bart comes in his Impulse costume. Like, as Impulse. He's like, leave her alone. And he goes to kick Zoom in the face. And Zoom just disappears. And he's like, Linda, Weddy, Bart, find Wally and Jay. Get them. And then you hear a voice. It's like, Impulse. Fastest boy alive. And then Impulse just gets smacked. Sent flying. Zoom. Fastest man alive. And then he gets grabbed at the throat by Zoom. Zoom begins choking him. And then Bart sees a time window open up next to them. And through that time window, he sees Kid Flash. Presumably himself as Kid Flash. And Zoom sees it and it's just like... And then he throws Impulse into a nearby wall. And just like, Bart! Stop it! And she's holding like a piece of glass to protect herself. The glass just disappears. It's like, who are you? And before she can finish her sentence, Linda just gets disappears. Taken away by Zoom. So Murillo and Chaya arrive at the gym that Wally and Jay were sent flying into, which then blew up from all the treadmills. And Wally tells them that it's Zoom that is doing this, but it's not the same Zoom from before because this one has broader shoulders and he couldn't shift his speed to normal. Like this Zoom is just constantly going fast. He assumes that he's somebody new tapping into the speed force and that's why he can't control his speed yet. Then a massive sonic boom happens again and Zoom appears in front of everyone holding Linda, and so all the cops draw their guns on him. They're just like... And then Zoom just knocks all the cops out in a split second. And then still holding Linda, Chaya's like, there goes our backup. And Wally's like, here's my wife, put your guns down. And Zoom is like, Officer Fred Chaya, Detective Gerard Murillo, are you going to be part of the trilogy? I hope not. And Chaya's like, what's going on with his voice? He sounds like a broken record. And Linda's like, get him, Wally. And Wally's like, Jay, you remember that trick I taught you? Time to slow this maniac down. With pleasure. And so they try to steal Zoom's speed by running around him, but then they realize that it's not working. Like, Zoom just grabs Jay's face as he's running around and throws him into a nearby car. Zoom's just like, is this supposed to hurt? And Wally's like, this doesn't make any sense. We can't slow him down. How can he be moving so fast without the speed force? So it's revealed that Zoom isn't using the speed force to go fast. He trips Wally over and Wally gets sent flying into a nearby park where he just smashes straight into a tree. This is a nightmare. A mental attack or... What do you want? What do you want with my wife? And Wally just runs straight at Zoom, and Zoom's like, are you surprised? Do you know how many people would like to get their hands on your wife? On Linda? And he just like swats Wally's punches away as Wally's trying to punch him. He's like, she is a jewel to you. He's like, what are you? I can't understand you. She is a jewel to you. A red diamond you leave out in the open instead of locking in a vault. And Linda's like, I'm not an object. I won't hide from anyone. You're a target. You need to go away. And then Zoom just snaps his fingers and creates a sonic boom which hits Linda, sending her flying. And Wally's like, Linda! And then another sonic boom happens, which hits Wally. And Zoom stops Wally from going over to Linda. He's like, let me get to her. And Zoom's just like, you see how much it hurts to feel helpless, useless? What did you expect anyway? You have no secrets. You have no safe house. It's only a matter of time before she dies. Enjoy it while you can. And then he just punches Wally in the gut. And then steps on his back and is like, and learn from it. And then he disappears, and Wally runs over to Linda and cradles her in his arms. Linda gets taken into the local hospital, where Murillo and Chaya are keeping the paparazzi from getting in, and any cops that, no one's allowed in the building. Wally wants to go into the room with Linda, but Jerry and Tina McGee are like, no, we have her handled, she'll be okay, just wait out here. And Jay and Bart arrive, and Bart is like a mess. He's just like, I'm so sorry. I tried so hard, and he was just too strong. I wasn't fast enough. I couldn't stop him. And Wally places his hand on Impulse's shoulder, and then they hear it's painful. And Zoom appears in the hospital. When someone you love gets hurt, moving this fast is so strange, like being invisible. No one even saw me come in. Wally, take our speed. You need the edge. You can take this, psycho. And Wally's like, yeah. And so, Jay and Bart funnel their speed into Wally. He's like, I need to go as fast as I possibly can so that I'm pretty much just a blur. But even with the speed of Jay and Bart, Zoom is too fast. He is literally running at the blink of an eye somehow. So he just runs in and just knocks Wally out and sends him flying all the way to the Arctic. Yeah, Wally ends up landing in the snowy mountains. Or maybe it's just outside of Keystone. Maybe there's just some snowy mountains that he gets sent flying into. It's actually the same environment that, remember in The Trial of Barry Allen, or The Trial of the Flash, when Reverse Flash and Barry Allen are running throughout different locations, and at one point they end up in the snowy mountains, and then Reverse Flash creates an avalanche. This is a throwback to that. So they end up in the snowy mountains. Zoom just kicks Wally into a tree, and Wally sees a time window open where he sees Zolomon getting blown up in the cosmic treadmill. And he's like, oh, what is that? What did you do to him? It's only a window in time. And he hits Wally again and then hits him again. A side effect. He's fine. And he hits Wally again, and he pulls down his mask and is like, Hunter Zolomon is fine. And so Zoom reveals to Wally that he is Hunter Zolomon. Wally's like, Hunter? No, this is a trick. This is... How? Why? We're friends. And Zoom's just like, and that's why, Flash, we're friends. You wouldn't help me. You refused to use the cosmic treadmill to go back in time, to change my history and fix my leg, to erase my mistakes, all because you said time travel isn't worth the risk. So I tried to activate the time machine myself. It blew up in my face, made me zoom. And then much like Reverse Flash, much like Eobard Thawne, he creates an avalanche. I need to make you into a hero that will take any risk needed. You must learn to see what it's like to live with loss, so that you will do anything in your power to help people like me. I'm making you a better hero, Flash. And as the avalanche falls down and Wally runs away from it, Wally sees Barry's death through another time window that opens up. He's like, Barry! And Zoom's like, ignore those visions, look at me! And he appears in front of Wally, and Wally's just like, ah! And then the avalanche crashes, hitting Wally and Zoom. And then Zoom and Wally speed their way out of the snow. Do you know where I've just gone? Faster than you could even see. Back to Keystone City to check in on your wife. And Wally's just like, again, I tell you, Wally, this is for your own good. One day you will thank me. You will be my friend again. And Wally's just like, Linda is suffering. She is alive and awake, but she is suffering. The woman you love most in the world, Wally. You'd do anything to make her pain go away, wouldn't you? You'd take any risk. And Wally's just like, you son of a... And Zoom's like, listen, Wally, the doctors have just told her. She's had a miscarriage. Your unborn twins are dead. Do you understand? They are dead. Let me tell you one more secret. Records I found. Tests done. You are going to have a baby girl and a baby boy. I'm teaching you how to be a better hero, Wally. Lesson 1 is over. Time for lesson 2. And we see like a shot of Linda just devastated, like in the hospital bed. So it's assumed that Zoom went into a hospital room and scrambled her kids. That's the assumption, is that he probably vibrated her hand through her stomach and killed the children and made a miscarriage. So yeah, that's the end of that part. That's the end of part 3. Linda has had a miscarriage, and I'm devastated because I'm frustrated. I'm just like, this sucks. Like, damn. Because, we had all this build up, she quit her reporting to become a nurse, which was to set up this whole storyline of, her getting pregnant and having children with Wally. And now she's suffering a miscarriage. The children were fridged, it seems. This is a fridging. Is this the first fridging of, children? No, I guess Donna Troy's children was the first time that, kids were fridged. But this is, the second time that kids have been fridged in a comic book. Damn. And so, the Blitz conclusion. Zoom has killed Wally's children. He actually reveals that the way he did it was he went and saw Linda and he snapped his fingers again, and that's what did it. That's what caused the miscarriage. And now he's on to lesson 2, which is to reverse Wally's origin, is what Zoom says. He's gonna do to Wally what Wally did to him, where, the opposite of, what Wally did to him. So, Zoom started off originally not being able to walk, and then he was able to run again, so he's gonna do the opposite to Wally, where Wally can run, but he's gonna break his legs and make him unable to walk again. And he's like, you're going to... Because he says to him, he's like, wouldn't you do anything to turn the clock back? To change that one moment in time and stop me from simply snapping my fingers? Say it, Flash. Tell me that I'm right. And Wally's like, you need help, Hunter. I won't listen to you. And he's like, this is my class, my time. You will listen. And my name is not... And then Zoom hears a Hunter. And he sees a time window of Ashley, and he hears the words that happened that night when Ashley's father was shot, where they're just like, what did you do, Hunter? He won't have a gun. He won't have a gun. And Zoom's just like, go away! Leave me alone! And he, just creates a massive, sonic boom explosion around him, cracking the ground, and then he punches Wally, sending him flying into a nearby car, and a hand comes out to grab him, and is like, West? And it's Jessie Chambers. Jessie Quick. She shows up. She's like, I'm so sorry I didn't get here in time. And Wally's like, Jessie, you need to get out of here. And she's like, Zoom's gone. He's gone. He's not here anymore. You're fine. Wally watches over Linda, who is currently being operated on, to, help with the miscarriage. And then he goes and sees Chaya and Murillo, and he unites with Bart, Jay, and Jessie, and they need to come together and figure out a way to beat Zoom. And figure out how his powers work, because he's not connected to the Speed Force. Jay, using his intelligence, comes to the conclusion that blowing up the cosmic treadmill has given Solomon the ability to surpass time itself. He's so fast that he's outside of time. And that he can rubber band himself through time, which is why these windows in time are opening up. They're like cracks in time from him rubber banding. And there's a chance that he might rubber band so far at one point, at some point, that time itself will split open and cause all sorts of problems. And so they need to stop that from happening. They need to stop Zoom before he uses his powers so much that he breaks time itself. And so Jesse's like, I'm coming with you, Wally. And Wally's like, no, Jesse, I'm doing this by myself. And Jay and Bart can't come because they don't, like, their speed hasn't come back to them yet. And so Wally decides to find Zoom alone. Zoom has gone back to the house where everything happened, where Ashley's father was shot. And he starts having visions and thinking about, you know, what happened. Where they're just like, Hunter, trust me, Ashley. Corley will not be armed. Trust me, Ashley. And then Corley appears around him, the clown, and starts laughing at him. He's like, stop laughing! And he just creates another sonic boom, which destroys everything around him. And then Wally zips in and is just like, and he tries to, like, punch Zoom and ends up going straight through him. He's like, you found me, And then he hits Wally and sends him flying. He's like, I read your file. I know you've had it tough. I know about the mistake you made. And then Wally is like, I know what happened with Ashley and her father and Corley. It's like, why did you open up to someone? Talk to a friend. Why did you turn your back on me? And Zoom's like, because... And then he grabs Wally from behind. You turned your back on me, Wally. And then Jesse grabs Wally and is like, hands off, Zoom. And he's like, Jesse, damn it, you followed me. You got to get yourself killed. Stop acting like me, West. Stop acting like you don't need help. And so, Jessie decides to give all of her speed to Wally to make him fast enough to catch up with Zoom. She gives him all of his speed. All of it. Every last drop. And so Wally becomes so fast that he is now faster than time itself, much like Zoom. So they are now, like, he finds out where Zoom is, which is in this void kind of state, because he's, like, outside of time. So Zoom's like, you made it into my world. We're locked between the ticks of a second, in a place where we are immortal. And Wally's like, no, we're human. And Zoom's just like, I didn't push you hard enough. You're still pulling your punches. And so he starts running away from Wally, and Wally runs after him. He's like, well, skip right to the final exam then. Your wife must die. And so Wally begins chasing Zoom throughout different countries and stuff, much like Barry chased Eobard. And, the idea is that Zolomon wants Wally to become like Barry. He's like, you'll never become like Barry unless you kill me. Because that's the only way you're going to stop me from killing Linda. And so, Zoom just, jumps into Wally, and they crash across an entire ocean, straight into Rome, and then into China, through Metropolis, through Kansas, I'm assuming, right back to Keystone. And Wally realizes that he's slowing down, so this is his last chance to stop Zoom once and for all. So Wally comes up with an idea. He sees another window open, and this one just happens to be the window of the moment Ashley's father was shot, or before it happened, when Hunter decided that the clown wasn't going to have any guns. And he grabs Zoom's head. He's like, I'm sorry, Hunter. I truly am. And Zoom's like, wait, not now, not. And he just stuffs Zoom's head into the window in time, which causes a massive explosion of electricity and chronal energy, which sends Wally flying and places Zoom in a state of suspended animation. Well, he's just like, I've won. And then he sees a window in time of him and Linda telling everyone that they're going to be parents. And Wally's like, I've won nothing. And he just, breaks down and, places his hands on his head and starts, he's just like, it's, messed up. He didn't win. He's devastated. And there's a great panel, and it's Wally on one side in the exact same position as Zoom in suspended animation. They've both got, their hands on their heads, both devastated over different situations in their past. Zoom gets transferred to Iron Heights. Chaya and Murillo go there to see Wolf so they can see Zoom. And they find Zoom in suspended animation within his cell in the same position that he was in. And we learn that Zoom is reliving the same moment over and over again. The moment that he told Ashley's father that the clown wasn't going to have guns. It's like, he doesn't have a gun. Trust me, Ashley. He doesn't have a gun. Trust me, Ashley. And we see like a close up of Zoom's eye as a tear has like come out of his eye in suspended animation. Wally goes and visits Linda, and the two of them are just devastated over the loss of their children. She's like, our babies. Wally's like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Linda. And they hug one another. And then Wally heads off to Barry's tombstone, which is a statue of the Flash. And he says to Barry, he's like, after everything that's happened, you know, Bart's gone to join the Teen Titans. Don't know if that's necessarily a good idea. You know, Jessie gave up her powers. She has no speed left. Which, I was mad when I read this. I was like, what? Come on. Like, why are you taking away Jessie's powers? She's just a normal person now. And Jay is like, hey, you could join the JSA and become, like, our, business manager. And she's like, nah, I'm all good. She's like, remember what you said? I need to slow down anyway. And it's like, come on, John. It's like, why are you doing this? Why did you have to take away her powers? I really like Jessie. And now she's probably gonna just go away from comics pretty much entirely. Because if you don't have like, if you're a character who had powers, you don't have powers anymore, unless you are, like, you know, someone like Jimmy Olsen, like, you're probably gonna just stop. You're gonna fade out of the comic books after some time. And it sucks if that happens to Jessie. So because of everything that's happened, Wally's like, I can't be the Flash anymore. I'm quitting. And he, like, makes his costume disappear. And then Barry appears. He's like, hey, kid. And Wally hugs him. He's like, Barry, like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I came back from the future because I knew that this was going to happen because I'm from the future. So I came back to have a little talk with you. He's like, in a few days, I'll be venturing back several years more. I'll give my life to save the world. But that's okay. My race has been run. He's like, I don't understand, Barry. You just gone through an awful ordeal, Wally. One that could easily destroy the thing you've built up all these years yourself. One that can easily destroy the thing you've built up all these years yourself. You can't let that happen. And Wally's like, you traveled through time just to be here for me? Then Hunter was right. Zoom was right. I should have taken the risk to help a friend. And Barry's like, no, Wally, you were right. You can't change history. I'm not here to change history. You have to keep running forward. Learn from your mistakes. I'm only here to support your decision and his. And Wally's like, my decision? Whereas, like, I told you, Wally, as much as I want to help, I can only stand by. I can only watch and listen. But someone else has already heard you. An old friend of ours. And they walk over to Hal Jordan's tomb, which is a statue of him. And Hal Jordan is the Spectre, so he appears as the Spectre. And Wally's like, oh, the Spectre! And Hal takes the form of Green Lantern and is like, it's, you know, normally Spectre, Green Lantern, but for us, it's just Hal, Wally. Now, I can't undo your children being killed, unfortunately. I don't have that much power. But what I can do is give you back your secret identity, because not having a secret identity is what caused this in the first place. Like, having a public identity. So I can make sure that something like this never happens again, because your identity won't be public anymore. And I know that's exactly what you want, right? That's what you want. You just want this stuff to never happen again, and you want to be able to live a normal life as Wally West while also being the Flash. And, you know, if this was actually in character for Wally, he'd be like, no, I'm fine. You know, I'd rather have a public identity. You know, I've been through a lot of stuff, and I'm not just going to run away from it. Like, that's what... Creating a secret identity for myself would be me just running away from the problem instead of learning from it and pushing forward. But no, Wally doesn't say that. He goes with it. He decides to go for it. And so the Spectre restores Wally's secret identity and gets rid of his public identity, because Jeff Johns doesn't like the fact that Wally's identity is public, and he wants to write a character that has a secret identity. It's dumb, and I don't like this retcon. It is like, it just felt unnecessary. It's just like, why? why are we going backwards, Like, Wally revealed himself to the public for incredibly personal reasons, and like, he's been through so many bad things, and those didn't force him to make this decision. Why this? Like, why now? Why would Wally suddenly be like, now I want to have a secret identity? It's like, no. This doesn't make Wally's character stronger. What would make him stronger as a character would be him not deciding to do this. It would be him deciding to continue pushing forward regardless of what's happened, and being like, I don't need to take the easy way out, and I refuse to take the easy way out. Whatever happens, happens. Having a secret identity, even if I had a secret identity, this probably still would have happened, because that's what it's like being a superhero. Stuff like this happens, and there's nothing you could do about it. In fact, that's the whole life lesson of the Flash. You can't change history. Things are going to happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. But apparently, there is something you can do about it. You can restore your secret identity, and then it's not a problem anymore. So yeah, Wally has a secret identity again. Even he... Like, I think it's like even Linda doesn't know that he's the Flash. Yeah. Linda doesn't know that he's the Flash. And Wally also doesn't... Or he does. So Wally remembers the Flash and knows he's the Flash. But Linda doesn't know he's the Flash anymore. Because it affected everybody except Wally. And so it's like, oh, okay. So Linda doesn't even get to be in on the secret identity? That sucks. I guess it's even less of a reason for Linda to be involved in Wally's life as a superhero. It's like everything I liked about the Wade run is just gone now. Just completely gone. I loved Linda being so involved. And now she doesn't even know that Wally is the Flash anymore, so she can't really be involved anymore. And, yeah, that's Blitz. Overall, incredible. Really great. The fridging of the children is just really... That sucks. That really sucks. It's just devastating. And yeah, then the ending... Most of the ending is good, except for the secret identity being restored. I don't like that. I don't like it. I think it's bad. Like, I think it's a bad retcon, especially because of what it does with, like, Wally and Linda's dynamic, where it just completely ruins how their relationship has been built over the years, which is them, trusting one another and being connected as, husband and wife, Linda Park and the Flash, Linda Park and Wally, like, it's all the same thing. She's invested in that life. She is a part of both of Wally's lives as both the Flash and Wally West, and that's all gone now because she doesn't know that he's the Flash anymore. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And next week, we're going to be continuing Jeff Johns' Flash, doing more issues. We've got quite a few issues that we're going to be covering next week. We're going to be covering all the way up to The Secret of Barry Allen. That's where we're going to be stopping, which is a tie-in to Identity Crisis. So we'll be covering The Secret of Barry Allen within the same episode as Identity Crisis. So yeah, next week we're going to be doing issues 201 to 215, I think, is what we're going to be doing up to. Or maybe 200, or it might be 213. We'll see. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next week for more of Jeff Johns' Flash. Have a good one.